Hello and welcome back to the channel. I'm Sam. Welcome back to Semantics Reads and Writes. And today we're going to do an anticipated releases video. Now, what I had planned on doing this year was to do these in quarters, so do 3 months at a time. However, I sat down to write out the list of books that I am looking forward to over the next 3 months, so April, May, and June. And I have 12 just for April. So, yes. Now, these are not books that I'm not going to read all of them, at least not now, but they are ones that I think sound interesting. And so I'm just going to do April today, and then we'll see what happens for May and June, and we'll decide, like, by the quarter, I guess, how I'm going to do this. Because I couldn't narrow it down. And I don't know if that's like a mental state for me right now, which is fine, but we're not narrowing it down. We're just going to talk to you about, right, 12? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 books that we'll be releasing in the month of April. So, but without further ado, grab yourself a beverage of your choosing and find somewhere comfy to sit, find a snack, all that good stuff, and let's go through some books that are coming out. Now, a couple of these are sequels, which is very exciting for me, and I have read one of them. I have a couple as arcs that I am hopefully going to be doing a reading vlog on that I'm really excited for, which is one of the reasons they're on this list, is because I am excited to read them and share them with you guys later on. But yeah, so let's start with April 1st. So the first book that I want to talk about that comes out on April 1st is A Drop of Corruption by Robert Jackson Bennett. This is the second book in the Shadow of the Leviathan series, and this is the one that I have already read. I just finished this one. I absolutely adored it. I loved it. Honestly, I liked this one better than the first one, and I'm pretty sure I gave the first one 5 stars. Since it's a sequel, I am going to read the summary for the first book, not for the second one. Just know that the second one kind of picks up with a new mystery where the first one left off. In Daratana's most opulent mansion, a high imperial officer lies dead, killed, to all appearances, when a tree spontaneously erupted from his body. Even in this canton at the borders of the Empire, where contagions abound and the blood of the Leviathans works strange magical changes, it's a death at once terrifying and impossible. Called in to investigate this mystery is Anna Delabra, an investigator whose reputation for brilliance is matched only by her eccentricities. At her side is her new assistant, Dinios Cole. Din is an engraver, magically altered to possess a perfect memory. His job is to observe and report and act as his superior's eyes and ears, quite literally in this case, as among Anna's quirks are her insistence on wearing a blindfold at all times and her refusal to step outside the walls of her home. Din is most perplexed by Anna's ravenous appetite for information and her mind's frenzied leaps, not to mention her cheerful disregard for propriety and the apparent joy she takes in scandalizing her young counterpart. Yet as the case unfolds and Anna makes one startling deduction after the next, he finds it hard to deny that she is, indeed, the Empire's greatest detective. As the two close in on a mastermind and uncover a scheme that threatens the safety of the Empire itself, Din realizes he's barely begun to assemble the puzzle that is Anna Delabra, and wonders how long he'll be able to keep his own secret safe from her piercing intellect. Featuring an unforgettable Holmes and Watson-style pairing, a glamorously labyrinthine plot, and a haunting and wholly original fantasy world, The Tainted Cup brilliantly reinvents the classic mystery tale. And I have to agree, it really did that. I absolutely loved the first book. The second book is right up there with it. I love it, would highly recommend, and definitely should go check that one out. The second book that I wanted to talk about for April 1st was Crash Landing by Annie McQuaid. Piper Adams is totally 100% completely over Wyatt, the former love of her life. After he broke her heart, she stopped taking risks and focused instead on building a perfect and perfectly safe life. Bumping into him at the airport on the way to her best friend's destination wedding wasn't part of the plan. Neither was a canceled flight, nor Wyatt's offer of a ride on the tiny plane he's flying to attend the same wedding. Desperate to make it on time, she accepts his offer, but things go from awkward to full-blown nightmare when their plane crashes in the Caribbean, stranding Piper on a deserted island with the last person she ever wanted to see. At first, rule-following Piper clashes with adventure-driven Wyatt, but as the days tick by, she begrudgingly admits that the boy she once knew has grown into a man. A man who makes her laugh, knows his way around a fire, and is annoyingly hot shirtless. As the chemistry still simmering between them boils over, Piper begins wishing Wyatt could be more than just a survival partner. But for their love to survive a second chance, she'll have to not only trust Wyatt again, but also learn to trust herself and find the courage to let go of her carefree, curated life for the chance at something far greater, if they survive the island long enough for rescue. I know that romances are predictable, but this just sounds really cute, and for some reason I'm willing to maybe give this kind of a second chance a chance. I don't usually like second chance romances. That's just not my thing. That's not something I personally enjoy reading. That's just a me preference. So we'll see. Maybe this would be one that I would end up liking. Moving on to April 8th. The first book that I want to talk about is called Their Monstrous Hearts by Yeat Turan. And I looked that up. I'm pretty sure that's how you say it. I really apologize if I said that wrong. But this is a horror book that honestly sounds so intriguing to me. So here we go. A mysterious stranger shows up at Ricardo's apartment with some news. His grandmother, Perihan, has died, and Ricardo has inherited her villa in Milan, along with her famed butterfly collection. The struggling writer is out of options. He's hoping the change of scenery in Milan will inspire him, and maybe there will be some money to keep him afloat. But Perihan's house isn't as opulent as he remembers. The butterflies pinned in their glass cases seem more ominous than artful. Perihan's group of mysterious old friends is constantly lurking, and there's something wrong in the greenhouse. As Ricardo explores the decrepit estate, he stumbles upon Perihan's diary, which might hold the key to her mysterious death, or at least give him the inspiration he needs to finish his manuscript. But he might not survive long enough to write it. I stumbled through that. I'm really sorry. I don't know. I think it sounds really interesting. It's the tagline is a haunting novel about the boundaries people will cross to keep their dreams alive. Creepy. All right, the next book that I want to talk about is another horror book, and that is Cold Eternity by S.A. Barnes. So another S.A. Barnes book. I love the space horror novels. They're great. Hallie is on the run from an interplanetary political scandal that has put a huge target on her back. She heads for what seems like the perfect place to lay low, a gigantic space barge housing the cryogenically frozen bodies of Earth's most wealthy citizens. The ship and its cryo program are long defunct, but Haley starts to think she sees figures crawling in the hallways, and there's a constant scraping, slithering, and rattling echoing in the vents. It's not long before Haley realizes she may have gotten herself trapped in an even more dangerous situation than the one she was running from. I love that the summaries of these books are super short, but it has me intrigued. It says it blends the dystopian dread of Severance with the catastrophic approach to AI from Megan. So I'm sold, honestly, but any S.A. Barnes book is gonna have me sold. All right, another sequel that's coming out is the book that held her heart, which is the third and final book in the Library trilogy by Mark Lawrence. I have read the first book, The Book That Wouldn't Burn in this trilogy, and I loved it. I do plan on reading the second one, so I will read the summary for the first book for you guys here. A boy has lived his whole life trapped within a vast library. older than empires and larger than cities. A girl has spent hers in a tiny settlement out on the dust where nightmares stalk and no one goes. The world has never even noticed them. That's about to change. Their stories spiral around each other across worlds and times. This is a tale of truth and lies and hearts and the blurring of one into another, a journey on which knowledge erodes certainty, and on which, though the pen may be mightier than the sword, blood will be spilled and cities burned. It's not much of a summary, but it's two worlds intertwining, two stories intertwining in worlds that should never have met. So it's very intriguing. I really, really loved the first one. I listened to the audiobook of that one, and I do plan on listening to the audiobook of the second one. The next book that I want to talk about is, conversely, the first book in a new series, and that is The Wind Weaver by Julie Johnson. This is the first book in the Reign of Remnants series. I believe she's mostly a romance author, but this is a romantasy. Fear of magic plagues war-torn Anwivin. There's a WYV in a row. I don't like that. Anyways, fear of magic plagues war-torn Anwivin. Halflings like Rhea Fleetwood are killed on sight. But Rhea's execution is interrupted by an unexpected savior, one far more terrifying than her would-be killers, the mysterious and mercenary Commander Scythe. In the clutches of this new enemy, Rhea finds herself fighting for her life in the barren reaches of the Northlands. Yet the farther she gets from home, the more she learns that nothing is as it seems. Not her fearsome captor, not the blight that ravages her dying realm, not even herself. For Rhea is no ordinary halfling. The strange birthmark on her chest and the wind she instinctively calls forth means she's a remnant. One of 4 souls scattered across Anwivin, fated to restore the balance of magic, or die trying. But mastering the power inside her is only the beginning. Desire for the commander, a man she can never trust, a man with plans of his own, burns just as fiercely as the tempests beating against her ribcage for release. Rhea must choose, smother the flames or let them consume her. I think it could be good. I'm not sure. It sounds intriguing, but I really, honestly, the reason is that I absolutely adore this cover. I think it is gorgeous, so we'll see, but I have fallen for one beautiful cover that ended up being a DNF earlier this year, so we'll see how this goes. We'll see. And the last book that I want to talk about that comes out on April 8th, there's a lot on April 8th. April 8th is like a publication day, is a big day apparently in publishing for books that I'm intrigued in. And that is, the last one I'm going to talk about is A Proposal to Die For by Molly Harper. Jessamine Bricker loves a plan. Contingency plans and pros and cons lists are her love language, and because of that, her proposal planning business is thriving. But with rent costs rising at her office building, Jess jumps at the chance to plan a proposal between her snobby high school classmate Diana and her very wealthy boyfriend, Trenton Tillard IV. Roped into joining Diana's pre-bridal retreat at the exclusive Golden Ash Resort, Jess hopes to fade into the background, get some work done, and maybe find some time to unwind. Their first day is anything but relaxing. Diana is furious about the mountain spa's lack of cell phone reception. The couple next door argues constantly, and Jess swears she just saw a drug deal go down. To top it all off, she's warned to stay out of the woods by the gruff and sexy chef, Dean Osborne. Is this a retreat or a horror movie? As Jess tries to do her job while placating the bride-to-be and her increasingly over-the-top demands, she spends more and more time with the resort owners, finding herself much more in tune with the laid-back Osborne family than her social climbing boss. Between a meditation garden-related drowning and Jess's discovery of a body in a sauna, it's clear that deadly secrets abound in the Golden Ash. Now it's up to Jess to unravel the mysteries here in the mountains before all her plans are cancelled. Permanently. I'm not sure what it is about that, but it's like a mystery with the love story, and that just sounds amazing. I mean, the character is almost the complete opposite of me. I'm not good with lists, honestly. I make them and then I don't follow them very well. That's just me. But I think it sounds delightful, honestly. This just sounds like so much fun. And I haven't sat down and read mystery books in so long, and I kind of miss it. So, like, true kind of mysteries like this. So, maybe this will get me back into it. All right, the next date that we're looking at, yes, I'm switching days finally, is April 17th. And that is The Raven Scholar by Antonia Hodgson. I have so much trouble saying that last name. And I've known people, I think, with that last name. I cannot say it. Hodgson? Hodgson. There we go. Goodness gracious. This is the first book in the Eternal Path trilogy. And it is an epic fantasy. So I've been reading some epic fantasy. If you watched my TBR, you saw John picked me a couple of those. And I'm working on it. I'm slow, but I'm working on it. Let us fly now to the Empire of Orun, where after 24 years of peace, Bursun the Brusque must end his reign. In the dizzying heat of midsummer, 7 contenders compete to replace him. They are exceptional warriors, thinkers, strategists, the best of the best. Then one of them is murdered. It falls to Nima Kra, the Emperor's brilliant, idiosyncratic, high scholar, to find the killer before the trials end. To do so, she must untangle a web of deadly secrets that stretches back generations, all while competing against 6 warriors with their own dark histories and fierce ambitions. Nima believes she is alone, but we are here to help. All she has to do is let us in. If she succeeds, she will win the throne. If she fails, death awaits her. But we won't let that happen. We are the Raven, and we are magnificent. Okay, I don't think I've ever read a summary. It's over 700 pages. That's a long book. I don't think I've ever read a summary that included we in part of that. Interesting. I didn't see that coming. I'm intrigued by this. I'm not gonna lie, I'm very intrigued. So, I did read these beforehand, but it's been a while, so I forgot this one had that in it. So I'm intrigued, and I actually might pre-order this one. It's also got a really cool cover. I really like these covers. All right, jumping ahead to April 22nd, the next book I want to talk about is When the Wolf Comes Home by Nat Cassidy. Now, Nat Cassidy is the author of books like Rest Stop, Mary, Steal the Stars. He's a big horror author. One night, Jess, a struggling actress, finds a 5-year-old runaway hiding in the bushes outside her apartment. After a violent, bloody encounter with the boy's father, she and the boy find themselves running for their lives. As they attempt to evade the boy's increasingly desperate father, horrifying incidents of butchery follow them. At first, Jess thinks she understands what they're up against, but she's about to learn there's more to these surreal and grisly events than she could have ever imagined, and that, when the wolf finally comes home, none will be spared. Another horror story with a really short description, but I am intrigued by this. I have heard mixed things about Nat Cassidy. I have heard he's very descriptive, he's very graphic, but I've heard that the horror books just leave you feeling so tense the entire time that it is the epitome of horror. So, I'm intrigued. I would like to try. Yes, please and thank you. Last 3. I got 3 left. And we're gonna switch to April 29th. So the first book that I want to talk about is Broken Souls and Bones by L.J. Andrews. This is the first book in a new series by them called Stonegate. L.J. Andrews is a big romantasy author. She's written the Everking series as well as Curse of Shadows and Thorns. So if you've heard of her, that might be where you've heard the name L.J. Andrews before. So, Lyra Bien intended to live a quiet life to avoid the attention of the magic-obsessed king in the fortress of Stonegate, until Rourke Ashwood, the prince's silent guard and rumored killer for the crown, invades her village and uncovers the truth behind the silver scars in her eyes. To save her best friend from death, she's forced to reveal her abilities and is immediately claimed by the crown as the next Melder. To be the king's melder is to be revered and feared in equal measures, but above all, it is a slow death sentence. Lyra is determined to find a way to free herself and her friends from bondage, but first she must get more information from the silent, brooding sentry who first took her captive, Rourke. As Lyra gets closer to Rourke, she soon learns he's nothing like she assumed, and in fact, everything she needs. The more they work as allies, the harder it becomes to ignore the growing passion between them. After a sinister truth is revealed, Rourke and Lyra must choose to stand against all they know or accept their dark destiny. I don't know, it sounds interesting. I've always kind of wanted to try her writing, so this one actually sounds very interesting, and I'm curious what a melder is. I'm curious about that. The next book I want to talk about is called The Floating World by Axio. This is the first book in the Floating World series. This is the author who wrote The Girl Who Fell Beneath the Sea. And this one is advertised as a romantic fantasy reimagining the Korean legend of celestial maidens. Sunho lives in the underworld, a land of perpetual darkness. An ex-soldier, he can remember little of his life from before 2 years ago, when he woke up alone with only his name and his sword. Now he does odd jobs to scrape by until he comes across the score of a lifetime. A chest of coins for any mercenary who can hunt down a girl who wields silver light. Meanwhile, far to the east, Ren is a cheerful and spirited acrobat traveling with her adoptive family and performing at villages. But everything changes during one of their festival performances when the village is attacked by a horrific human-like demon. In a moment of fear and rage, Ren releases a blast of silver light, a power she has kept hidden since childhood, and kills the monster. But her efforts are not in time to prevent her adoptive family from suffering a devastating loss, or to save her beloved uncle from being grievously wounded. Determined to save him from succumbing to the poisoned wound, Ren sets off over the mountains where the creature came from, and from where Ren herself fled 10 years ago. Her path sets her on a collision course with Sunho, but he doesn't realize she's the girl that he and a hundred other swords for hire is looking for. As the two grow closer through their travels, they come to realize that their paths and destinies are far more entwined than either of them could have ever imagined. I'm intrigued by this one. I like the addition of the retelling of the Korean story. Those are always a lot of fun. I'm getting a little bit of Dick Grayson with the acrobats though. So I'm curious where that part will go with the whole series. The last book that I want to talk about is a book called Serial Killer Games by Kate Posey. This is one that I will be reading next month. I have an arc of it. I have it planned to read. Dolores de la Cruz has been dying to spot one in the wild, and he fits the mold. Strangler gloves, calculated charm, dashing good looks that give a leg up in any field, including fields of unmarked graves. The new office temp is definitely a serial killer. Jake Ripper finds a welcome distraction in his combative and enigmatic new coworker. He hasn't come across anyone as interesting as Dolores in a long time, but when mere curiosity evolves into a darkly romantic flirtation, Jake can't help but wonder if, finally, he's found someone who really sees him, skeletons in the closet and all. Until Dolores asks Jake's help to dispose of a body. That took a turn. I don't know. It sounds fun. It's like 380 pages. That just sounds like a fun rom-com kind of thing. So those are the books that I'm looking forward to in the month of April. And this is why I didn't do all 3 months. Because this is going to be a long enough video as it is. And I know I should try and have more self-control and get rid of some of these, but I'm not going to. So yes, that's about where we're at. That's what I got for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed this video. Comment down below with some other books that you are looking forward to in the next month. And let me know if you've heard of any of these, if you've read any arcs of them, if you have any thoughts on them. Just let me know. I'm curious. And that's what I got for you guys. So I would really appreciate it if you would subscribe, like, comment on this video. It really does help me out in the long run. And until next time, stay safe, stay healthy, keep reading, and keep moving forward. Bye! And the book that comes out on that date is The Raven Scholar by Antonia Hodgson. Hodgson? Is that Hodgson? Hodgson? I think that's Hodgson. I thought it was GD. Oops. Okay. And he fits the mold strangler gloves, calculating that sentence.